Never doubt the process and stick to the plan. That's the hard truth most people don't want to hear. Because when you're in the middle of it, when it's not glamorous, when it feels slow, when you're not seeing the results, you start questioning everything. Trusting the process means choosing discipline over doubt when progress feels invisible. And this is one of the hardest lessons you will ever learn in life. Because when you are in the middle of the grind, when you are showing up day after day without seeing the results you imagined, the temptation to doubt yourself becomes overwhelming. You start to wonder if you are wasting your time, if maybe you should be doing something else, if maybe the process you committed to isn't working. That doubt can be louder than your effort. It can sit in the back of your mind and whisper constantly that you should quit, that you should pivot, that you should find an easier path. But discipline is what silences that doubt. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward when everything in you wants to stop. Discipline is what makes you water the seed when the soil still looks dry, because you know growth is happening underneath, even when you can't see it on the surface. When you commit to a process, it's like entering a contract with yourself. You've promised yourself that you'll stick to a path long enough for it to bring the results you're looking for. But the truth is, the process never rewards you right away. It tests you first. It asks, how bad do you really want it? How much are you willing to give before you see anything in return? Most people fold under that test. They give up halfway because the results didn't come as fast as they wanted. But those who win, those who succeed, are the ones who endure that silent period, that hidden stage of growth where it looks like nothing is happening. Because that's where character is built. That's where grit is formed. That's where you prove to yourself that your commitment is stronger than your feelings. Progress often hides itself in the small, invisible changes that you don't notice until one day you look back and realize how far you've come. The gym doesn't show you results after a week, but your body is already adjusting, your endurance is already building, your discipline is already sharpening. A business doesn't become profitable overnight, but in those slow early days, you are building systems, learning from mistakes, and creating a foundation that will carry growth later. A relationship doesn't become unbreakable in a month, but with every small act of trust, loyalty, and effort, the bond grows deeper. The problem is we live in a world that glorifies instant gratification. We want results now. We want proof today. But the process doesn't bend to our impatience. It demands time, consistency, and a refusal to give up when nothing seems to be working. Choosing discipline over doubt means waking up and doing the thing even when your feelings are screaming not to. It means pushing through the mental fog that tells you you're not good enough or that it's not worth it. Discipline doesn't ask you to feel motivated. It asks you to show up regardless. And here's the truth: discipline is the bridge between who you are right now and who you want to be. Every time you silence doubt and act with discipline, you are taking one step closer to that future version of yourself. That's how you build confidence. Not by waiting to feel ready, but by proving to yourself that you can stick to the process even when the process feels slow, invisible, or unrewarding. Doubt thrives in silence, in the unseen moments when you are alone with your thoughts. It will replay every failure, every weakness, every insecurity. But discipline is louder. Discipline is action. When doubt says, it's not working, discipline says, do it anyway. When doubt says you're not good enough, discipline says, keep going. When doubt says, quit, discipline says, not today. And over time, that discipline builds evidence. It shows you that your efforts are adding up, even when you couldn't see it in the moment. It teaches you that your consistency matters more than your doubt. Because progress may be invisible, but it is never absent. Think about a farmer planting a crop. They put seeds in the soil, cover them, and for weeks there is nothing to show for it. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, growth is happening, strength is being built where nobody can see. If the farmer judged the process by what they could see, they'd dig up the seeds, quit watering, and walk away. But the farmer knows the process is working even when it looks like nothing is happening. That's the same mindset you need to carry into your goals. Your work is not wasted. Your effort is not in vain. Something is happening beneath the surface of your life, and discipline is the tool that keeps you watering even when the soil still looks dry. There will be days when your progress feels invisible, but invisible progress is still progress. It's like compound interest. You don't see the growth day by day, but over time, it adds up to something massive. Discipline is choosing to believe in that compounding effect. It's refusing to let doubt rob you of the breakthrough that only comes to those who keep going. Doubt will always be there, but you don't have to listen to it. You can feel it and still choose discipline. You can hear the noise and still choose action. That's how you trust the process, not by removing doubt, but by refusing to let doubt dictate your actions. Sticking to the plan is about persistence and patience, not constant reinvention. The reason most people never see the results they want is not because their plan was bad, but because they kept abandoning it the moment it felt uncomfortable, boring, or slow. They want new strategies, fresh tactics, something that promises faster outcomes. But the truth is, success rarely comes from reinventing your approach every other week. It comes from showing up day after day, doing the unglamorous, repetitive work that compounds into something greater over time. It comes from refusing to quit when the results don't appear on your timeline. It comes from believing that consistency beats novelty and patience beats impatience. When you create a plan, you are setting a roadmap toward your goal. That plan is not meant to give you instant validation. It's meant to guide you through the inevitable obstacles, setbacks, and doubts that will come along the way. But too many people tear up their roadmap the moment the road gets bumpy. They switch plans every time they feel frustrated. They chase trends. They copy what others are doing. They keep hitting reset. And what happens is they spend years starting over, but never finishing anything. They mistake activity for progress. But the reality is, persistence with one plan will take you further than constantly jumping between many. Because when you stick to something long enough, you give it the time it needs to bear fruit. Patience is what makes sticking to the plan possible. Without patience, you will sabotage yourself. You'll expect a week's effort to deliver a year's worth of results. You'll compare your timeline to someone else's and assume you're failing because you're not moving as fast. But patience says, stay steady. Patience says, trust that the small steps you're taking are leading you somewhere, even if the finish line is still out of sight. Patience says, don't dig up the roots to check if they're growing. Keep watering, keep waiting, and let time do its job. Every worthwhile pursuit in life requires patience. Building a career, developing a skill, strengthening a relationship, creating a business. All of it takes longer than you think. And if you can't be patient, you'll never last long enough to see the outcome your plan was designed to create. Persistence is the action that fuels patience. It's not just waiting, it's working while you wait. Persistence is waking up on the hard days and doing it anyway. Persistence is sticking to your routine when your motivation has disappeared. Persistence is showing up when it feels like nobody notices, when there is no applause, when the only reward is knowing you honored your commitment. Most people give up when it stops being exciting, but that's exactly where persistence matters most, because persistence turns temporary effort into permanent progress. Persistence is the proof that you're serious about your plan. Sticking to the plan does not mean the plan is perfect. It means you are willing to trust the framework you created long enough to test it fully. Of course, there will be times to make adjustments, but those adjustments are different from reinvention. Adjustments are small course corrections. Reinvention is throwing everything out and starting from scratch. If you keep reinventing, you'll never get past the beginning. You'll keep building foundations without ever completing the structure. Success requires depth, not just restarts. Depth comes from working one plan until you learn its lessons, until you maximize its potential, until you see what it can truly create. The danger of constant reinvention is that it feels productive. It feels exciting to start something new. It gives you a burst of motivation, a sense of progress. But it's a trap because starting over means you lose the momentum you've already built. You go back to square one instead of compounding on the progress you had. Real growth feels slow. It feels repetitive. It feels ordinary. That's why people chase newness. They confuse excitement with progress. But if you can stay steady, if you can endure the boredom, if you can commit to the repetition, you will separate yourself from everyone else who keeps giving up. Think about athletes. They don't reinvent their training every month. They stick to the fundamentals, the drills, the routines that build mastery. Day after day, they repeat the same exercises, the same patterns, because they know greatness comes from refining the basics, not chasing shortcuts. Think about successful businesses. They don't abandon their model every time sales dip. They persist, they refine, they hold the vision steady while the market shifts. Think about relationships. They don't thrive on constant novelty. They thrive on consistency, patience, and persistence in showing up for each other even when life gets hard. The principle is universal. Stick to the plan long enough, and you will see results. Abandon it too soon, and you will always feel like you're falling short. The truth is, sticking to the plan is less about the plan itself and more about who you become by following it. You become someone who can be trusted, someone who keeps their word, someone who has the discipline to endure discomfort without looking for escape routes. Every time you stick to your plan instead of chasing something new, you strengthen your identity as someone who finishes what they start. And that identity is powerful. It carries into every area of your life. It builds confidence, not because of instant results, but because you trust yourself to stay the course. Patience and persistence don't mean you won't face frustration. You will. There will be days when you hate the plan, when you feel like giving up, when you are tired of waiting. But those are the days that matter most. Those are the days that define your outcome. Anybody can follow a plan when it's easy. Anybody can be patient when progress is obvious. The real test is sticking to it when the progress feels invisible and the work feels endless. That's where character is formed. That's where transformation happens. And that's where most people quit, which is exactly why you must not.